Before we go on there.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to today's episode. Unfortunately, we're down one musketeer, so we're going to
Either
be
way,
starting on a
this is
different
the
topic
fireplace,
than.
and we're glad to be back. Got all these topics like you're saying. I'm still ready. I'm still
Yep.
ready to talk it out.
Um, I know that he was the one who really had a lot to say about the North Korean peace summit.
Yeah, that
So
was one of the
instead, we will
topics. So
start with your trip to the Women's March because you took a trip down to the San Diego Women's March, right, Alcom?
yeah, I did. I went down there for this 2019 March a few days back for celebrating Black women and empowering Black women, which I was actually genuinely excited about going to. uh, up until the end. But overall, it was a good experience. I missed most of the march. I was mostly just trying to document the end because I knew that there was going to be some powerful performances. There's a spoken word woman who has been in in some heavy situations where I don't want to speak for her. I'm trying to edit a video right now. Uh, she gave a spoken word performance, and it was really impactful on me and the other people who were there. Just the energy of all those people of color like trying to come together was really good. So I was thinking, I've been really pleasantly surprised by all the progress Trump has made uh, in the workforce specifically. With women, with Black people, breaking records month after month economically, and some of those being the fact that unemployment rates have been at record lows, like in the country's history, and just in recent years, we've never seen progress like this, even under someone who was colored and was supposed to be like for the people of color. So it was a pretty interesting experience to say the least. I wore my MAGA hat, and I talked to one of the higher ups at the end. Uh, after everybody was packing up, I was talking to her, and we were having a good conversation, and then she looked up at me because I'm taller than her, and I think she kind of like leaned back a little bit when she really noticed, because I was just talking to her and having a good conversation. She was all smiles and everything, and all of a sudden she just her demeanor changed, her energy changed, and we were talking, and then she said something along the lines of I was listening to you, but I stopped paying attention to what you're saying because of your hat. And she was talking about like I despise Trump and he's a racist, so I hate that man. Da 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 da. And I only got part of it on recording. I'm gonna try to include that in the video with some narration. But long story short, we were having a respectful conversation about the fact that one of the sponsors for her event, or not her event, but the event that she took part in, one of the sponsors was Planned Parenthood, and I asked her, if she knew about Planned Parenthood and the background they had in the lives of Black people, of people who live mostly in inner city communities, since 70% of those locations are in inner city communities. So uh, we were just having a normal conversation, and then all of a sudden she just flipped, and she was talking about how he was racist too. And I asked her, like, how is he racist? Like, how is that true? And she said that his rhetoric was hateful. I didn't understand. I was asking her how, and I brought those statistics up. I think that was the first time I brought those statistics up with her. Uh, I was just like, well, he his administration, his term has brought about much more uh, positive change for Black people than we ever saw under Obama in his near decade, supposedly serving the country. And I brought Black people's unemployment rates have been at record lows. I brought up he has the most women of any presidential cabinet going on in his not 3 years of serving, and she just she was just in my face, and then she was like, "That's bullshit," and then she walked away, and I was like, "Wow, okay, I'm sorry that you can't take facts. I wasn't aware that this conversation was gonna go that way." But I talked to the woman who performed, and I actually documented a really positive experience with her. I was having some trouble with my tripod and stuff because it was windy and it was kind of raining. We've been having a weird weather season here in San Diego, the past few months. So, I had a conversation with her. Right before that, I bought a shirt from them so that, hopefully, me putting my energy there would inspire some momentum, and eventually they wouldn't have to have, uh, an organization whose backbone is basically infanticide, you know, and then all of a sudden all that energy just got completely flipped, and she just got so angry and hateful. It was crazy. It was so crazy.
Yeah, and like honestly, listening to a lot of what you say, it makes a lot of sense. Some of the things that you're saying that happened, because and I'm sure we've all noticed this too. Every time I seem to have a discussion with a liberal who wants to talk to me about how racist Trump is, can't ever seem to come up with any reasons, right?
Uh-huh.
And it sounds like that's kind of what we were going through.
Yeah, it was just as soon as I asked her, like, how is that true when statistically, like, everything he's done is in opposition to the media that's supposedly been trustworthy and reliable, and we're the voice, we're the voice of these people who need information, who want their voices heard, uh, in regard to opinions about Donald Trump and about authority. So it's just been kind of odd wrapping my head around that when she didn't have anything to say other than that's bullshit, and then walking away and then saying whatever she wanted to say.
Yeah, no,
Aside from that,
I
it was just a weird situation where it was like a one way conversation. Like, I don't know. I was bringing up reasons why. Like, I even told her, like, the only reason why. Uh, did I tell her that? Or maybe it was someone else I was talking to after who was trying to help me figure out who she even was. But I brought up, like, at first I wasn't a Trump supporter. Like, people who knew me back in 2016, like, would have known that I was not initially a Trump supporter. Like,
he
I
was
was
not.
I was all for, like, if he has done something, like, investigate him. And, like, for how many years now, how many months now, we've had, like, multiple different investigations supposedly, and, like, people
Yeah, and
trying to get
we're
him
going
out
to talk about
and
that
doing
later
all this
too.
other stuff. And it's just like nothing's really happened to prove that he's bad. And then on top of that, I've been, like, lying in wait and keeping up to date on every little, like, legislation thing that he's done. Like, even if it's short term, like, me thinking about it, and I don't really think about it from then on. Like, I haven't really seen anything personally where I disagree with what he's doing for even moral reasons. Like, because those are the most subjective things you can do. You know, I mean, most objective topics you can bring up with yourself. When you're trying to have some retrospect on how you're dealing with any person. And I don't really disagree with any of his morals. I'm sorry, but, like, he's like he's just your typical, like, if you see a camera and you're not camera shy and you, like, have a certain character that you have. It's like, if you're in front of an audience, if you're in front of a camera, like, you kind of have just, like, a persona. And with him, he's like that typical, like, alpha male character. Like, he says what he wants in front of the cameras. He, like, says what he wants when it comes to defending his ideas and defending his stances on whatever. And it's like, he's not wrong with what he's saying. Like, yeah, he might be saying something really abrasively, but that doesn't really matter when it's still true and it's backed up by statistical data. Because, like, the,
Yeah,
the southern border
I
is an issue that we've, for multiple candidates, even beyond Obama. Obama himself was he was the one who started trying to get that half-assed fence going, trying to say, like, oh, legal immigration, like, we gotta have a barrier, da 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 da. Like, he
and then of
half-assed
course
it.
Trump started campaigning on the wall, and he immediately backtracked.
Exactly, and it's just like, I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird. I can't really wrap my head around it. It's
So you
just
had
like,
a fun trip to the women's march.
yeah, it was overall, it was pretty fun. There was some people, like, mumbling some stuff behind me around about. I mean, surrounding Trump, but I didn't really hear him. I wasn't really paying attention. I might have recorded some of it, but I don't
Orange
think
Man
that's
bad.
basically fucking basically. It was ridiculous. Honestly, that whole like experience was just weird. Like everybody was fine, and then all of a sudden, like all that hate come out of nowhere, and it was just I don't know. It threw me for a loop.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that kind of really just shows how uneducated people are about like conservatism
Uh huh.
and right wing politics. Because you know what's a crazy thing that happened this week is I was meeting after class with one of the girls in my class, for my
Uh-huh.
philosophy class, and she brought up how progressive and liberal she is, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And she asked if I was, liberal and conservative, and I didn't lie to her. I told her no, I'm a physically conservative man. I'm libertarian,
Uh-huh.
and I think this story really ties in with like that Women's March interactions that you had because it shows the aspect of just the misinformation surrounding right wing people. Because she immediately looked at me and said, "Isn't that the group of people that thinks black people should all be murdered?" And I have to admit, I was taken completely fucking aghast by
Oh
that.
my gosh, that's
Like,
crazy. Like, and that's the thing. Like, that's the majority of interactions conservatives are gonna have, even with like, because I'm a person of color. Like, I'm like by all means a minority in leftist speak. You know,
yeah,
and by their standard, I should be like on the same train of Orange Man bad. But like,
but like when I start talking about
oh,
libertarianism and
that's
she immediately connects that to like Southern secessionism and racism,
mm,
like libertarianism is the fucking principle that all people should be free from government control and people should be free to do whatever they want as long as they're not harming people. But there's so much misinformation about anyone right wing of Stalin that anyone who fits that bill is considered Nazi-esque. This isn't one
yeah.
of our topics, but do you remember Marcus Meacham? Count
I don't
Dankula.
even know who that is.
Do you know Count Dankula?
Yes, with
The
the
Nazi
Nazi
pug?
pug. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's a um I mean he's an interesting character, but he self-describes himself as left wing. And he recently got a job actually writing for a newspaper, and the BBC is releasing hit pieces on that newspaper, calling it far right. Alt right newspaper hires neo Nazi,
It's crazy. That's so crazy. And
and
like they oh my god.
and he,
And when people
if I
want to talk
remember
about like,
properly,
oh, I
he
respect
considers
gay
himself
rights, is
center
there
left.
wait what?
If I remember properly, he considers himself center left.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing.
All because he made a joke. How many years ago was it that he got arrested for making the Nazi pug joke? At the expense
I
of
don't
Nazis,
even
by the
know.
way.
I really don't know. Like it's been a fat minute. It's
And
like
then,
they keep tabs on like every single little thing, and it's just like why?
yeah.
Like what are you going to gain from keeping tabs on somebody who's like literally leftist? They're just abrasive. Like, and the thing is,
And
like they have to because the left, like by nature, is cannibalistic. Like if you don't fit a specific narrative, they're gonna come after you, and you can't like not be part of that because you're left or whatever. Like it just doesn't fly with them.
and that's kind of why I feel that the left will not be able to win. They may
Oh
win
yeah,
for now,
definitely.
but
But
if they
even now,
keep
like
doing,
a ton of leftist people are turning like on Bernie. You know.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of people talking about how Bernie is the representation of the capitalist system in the newest political race.
Yeah, he has like what 4 houses, 3 houses, and it's just like where'd all that money come from? I wonder.
Campaign donations.
Duh. People are just like he knows what he's doing. Like he's gonna run, and he's gonna have a bunch of support from like young, dumb, like millennial socialist people who don't really know what they're trying to get the country into, and he's gonna lose. Everybody knows he's gonna lose. He knows he's gonna lose, but
Yeah,
he's just gonna take all the campaign donations and buy another house. And what's he gonna do? He's probably gonna flip that house for more profit. Either that or
probably.
invest in other real estate or stocks or whatever he wants to do. Because at the end of the day, regardless of if you're socialist or not, in this country, like, you're gonna have a certain level of economic, you know, what's it called? Like, you could speak the language. You're gonna be a little fluent in figuring out, what you have to do to make money. And if you're crooked like him and you're taking advantage of and capitalizing on, you know, the sentiment of a lot of young people who don't really understand what they would be getting the country into, like, you end up either with ways to make money yourself, or you get boosted all the way up beyond what you initially in a situation like, the president of Venezuela. Like, we got Maduro pretending he's for the people and everything. And that whole country is like full of people who are dying because they can't afford, you know, even one of the racks upon racks of freaking ketchup they have in state run supermarkets. Like, literally, like, aisles and aisles worth of ketchup, just like, and nothing else. And or if it's a private supermarket, you're gonna have like eggs. Like, that's not what people envision when they think about what he's supposedly advertising. And it's just a game to get money, and
Well, when
everybody
people
knows it.
think socialism, they don't think about what socialism actually has created.
Yeah,
Socialism in its history has created starving states, it's created starving people.
and nobody wants
But
to think about
people
that.
think of,
Everybody always wants to say, like, "Oh, that's not real socialism," or if they don't even know about it, then they hear that and they go, "Oh, that's not real socialism," and it's all the same argument, and it all leads to either A, the one guy or the minority of guys who are promoting it getting rich, or B, the state becoming a starving state. That's pretty much all it's gotten, and throughout history, that's pretty much all we've ever gotten from socialism.
all right, now that we've talked about that, I want to real quick have a discussion about the mega attacks. Now, how familiar are you with this?
I heard about that kid. I heard about that dude.
So this week, there's been a number of videos surfacing of right-leaning students at schools being attacked. Primarily, the two most widely seen videos is this African American gentleman who walks up to this kid hanging a Trump sign
Hmm.
and rips the sign out. Not even really a sign; it's like a banner out
Hmm.
of this kid's hand, and being very confrontational with him. Now that's not the one that I'm concerned about. The one that I'm concerned about that's making a lot of rounds, mostly because a lot of liberal individuals are finding themselves cheering the attacker on in this instance, is the UCLA attack,
Hmm.
where the
That guy got punched. Got sucker punched by that pussy
well,
liberal.
these two people showed up at UCLA with a booth representing Turning Point USA,
Yeah.
and the
Oh, is this the guy who got attacked? Hayden Williams. Is that him?
I'm not sure of his name at the moment, but what I can tell you is that the guy basically got cold cocked.
Yeah, he got sucker punched
Yeah, sucker punched,
by an angry
distracted,
pussy liberal, like I just said.
and like there's a whole bunch of footage from people from all different angles just watching this guy rail on this conservative kid.
Jeez.
And kind of what I almost wonder is why did nobody help this guy? Like everyone pulled out their phone and recorded.
It's the same
And
with all these stupid black people lighting up their dry yards. Like, have you seen those not pictures, videos on Twitter?
no,
it's been like multiple cases of people uh, who have let their yards die, and get dry. Open lawns, shared across property lines and stuff. People having to get help from the neighbors. People ended up calling 911 because they set a fire to a dry yard and can't put it out because they're being stupid. And everybody who's recording, there's like 3 different people around who are recording, or two or three, bystanders not doing anything and just watching the person who did it, like, immediately jump to regret and trying to put the fire out. And it's just like, I don't know, people when behind the camera, gets so like complacent and everything. It's just like somebody doing their part to help already. Like, instead of just recording, like have like a just more thought, like, so like,
I mean, you're cutting a lot there, but I'm going to kind of go on with this story because it gets better. Because also this week, there was a martial arts group. Now, these college students, mostly from my understanding, are all part of an organization that advocates teaching people martial arts for self-defense, and they're conservative. And what happened is, apparently, allegedly, I've only heard of this and seen some footage. I haven't seen the whole video, but allegedly what happens is this guy attacks these kids, and they defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, they're being prosecuted by the federal government.
What?
For conspiring to commit violence.
Oh my god. That's crazy.
Even though all they did was defend themselves against some attackers.
So did they attack them and then they defended themselves? Like, is that how?
Yeah. Yeah, these people defended themselves against a group that was attacking them, and now the federal government is prosecuting them. And I think that's why the people at the Turning Point USA table didn't fight back. And I think that's why a lot of conservatives who get physically assaulted don't fight back, is because of this story. Now,
yeah, it's like,
obviously this is new, but obviously this is a new story, and so it wasn't this story in specific.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The attitude in general is that, as we saw with Nicholas Sandman, you remember that? The Maggie kid who had the Native American guy beating the drum in his face?
Yeah.
If you so much as smile
and they're like,
liberal,
he's racist. He smiled, so he's racist. Like,
and now we have a group of people who actually hit back. I mean, this kind of stuff is endemic of why I think a lot of conservatives don't bother to fight back when they're being attacked, is because the law is on their attacker's side.
Yeah, definitely.
And, like, I don't know, it's very much evocative of Charlottesville, because, like, you remember when Charlottesville happened and everyone told me how crazy I was when I said that the whole thing was, like, the entire coverage that they were getting was a lie?
I don't remember that, but I was on that train, and I remember how people were talking around me and talking about, like, oh, all of them were racist and everything, and like, if I so much as, like, said, well, I don't know, like, I'm kind of skeptical, like, people look like I had a goddamn second head. Like,
I call that particular happening, I think it's like the Battle of Seven Armies, because it was like 7 different groups of people who all showed up and caused violence.
Jesus.
And like the first couple of groups that showed up, you had a conservative group who showed up to basically protest the removing of a historical statue, and then you had several groups of left-wingers all coming in to attack these right-wingers. Then you had extremist right-wingers coming in to attack the left-wingers to defend the peaceful right-wingers. who were sitting there with signs saying that tearing down history is wrong, and it turned into a whole fucking thing.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I remember all that. I wasn't sure about like how like nuanced the groups were, but I knew that there was a ton of them, and I knew that there was just a ton of commentary on what was going on, and nobody really was giving a solid like these are who the people were that were doing this and that, and these were the people that were doing stuff wrong, and it was just like liberals good, conservatives bad, and they were together with the conservatives, so they were bad, and they had guns, and they had guns, so they're bad. Like it wasn't really a conversation that I could keep track of. It was just really weird. I couldn't really hold
Yeah,
any like one perspective on how to how to see like what was going on, because it was so like all over the place with the way people were talking about it, and I couldn't figure out like, okay, who were the groups though? Like who, like, yeah, Trump said there was
I
bad
don't
stuff
even
going on both
remember.
sides, and I was just like, yeah, because I could see that obviously. Like one side was coming at him with like all this crazy nonsense, and the other side had guns because they were trying to express their Second Amendment rights, and make it obvious that they were there to show that they were going to protect themselves if something went down, and it was a lot. It was a
And
lot.
you know what the crazy thing is the police whose job it was to like stop the violence. Like there were riot police there because the police department knew that some shit was gonna go down.
Yeah,
They had caught wind that a liberal group was planning violence against these protesters. And they just fucking stood there and watched the whole thing go down. These fucking riot police were just like, yeah, this is fine.
it's crazy. Like I was at the Women's March thing, right? And we were at the wind down event with all this stuff set up, and I was sitting there in my MAGA hat, and there was this police officer, and he got close, like not to me, but he got close to the event. He was standing there and just staring at everybody and just making sure. And then a few minutes later, he was like waiting, and then finally he went up to his other officer that was waiting in the car, and he like had him roll down the window and everything, and they were talking for a little bit, and then they bounced, and I was like, "Are y'all serious? Like I'm the one dude wearing a MAGA hat, and as soon as I show up, y'all leave? Are you for real? Like something really could have gone down, and they would have been gone, not doing their job. The police like wearing a high vis
Yeah.
vest, doing their thing, and then they just leave, and I'm just like, the police today are such pussies. They're such pussies. Like in the UK too. Like there's no go zones like in the UK. In the UK where they just won't go because they don't want to be seen, oh,
They
well,
don't want to seem
they're this, they're
racist.
that.
Like, that was another thing that people told me I was crazy. There's a whole bunch of things that I've caught on to, and whenever I point it out to people, they're always just, "Oh, you're crazy." But like,
Oh my god.
you're just crazy. But like in the UK, the police are not, even now, are not addressing the problem of child grooming gangs,
Yes.
especially
Oh my
in
god.
migrant areas, because they're afraid of being called racists.
It's like it's dude. Oh my god. I know somebody who literally came from the Middle East and literally went back out there, like
And
recently. And before he left, like I just had to know, like I had to pick his brain on some stuff. And he's open, he's open with me about like, yeah, like what goes on over there is like jacked, like it's really whacked. Like obviously not his words,
yeah,
but he's talking to me, and I'm just like sitting there listening. The way they treat their kids within their families is worse enough, but they literally have a rape culture that like nobody wants to acknowledge. That's primarily in traditional Islam faith-based areas, where all the men in the family, cousins, uncles, nephews, the sons or whatever, either if they're young enough or whatever, they use them. They turn them basically into slaves and have them in like an unspoken child trafficking thing that's like within the family, like it's the norm. Or They all band together and go out raping random people, raping people who they claim like dishonor them or whatever, kill people who brought dishonor to the family. All this crazy stuff, and it's just like I don't understand how people don't see this stuff and then recognize like if you have such an insane level of like immigration that's not it's not like taken account for like properly. Like if you go over there, you're gonna be in a completely different culture than in the rest of the country. Like even in Sweden
Yeah.
now, like there's the UPS. They don't deliver in Sweden, in places in Sweden, because in migrant dominated cities or whatever, in those areas like where they've started to pull back, everybody there again, like it's a migrant dominated area. There's everybody there is freaking Muslim, like not
Yeah.
integrated Muslim, not like typical people who are of a typical like choice of religion and everything, like Muslim. They have not integrated. They have not taken any kind of naturalization oath. They haven't done any of that stuff because it's not the norm over there. Like we're the only westernized country that has really gotten that down. And over there, like UPS has delivery people citing more and more situations where they're attacked or they're berated or they're like whatever, you know? And it's like I don't understand when people are gonna understand like the impact that this is gonna have on future generations, especially because if we have this kind of thing happening with police, with common people like delivery people, I don't understand how the children of that situation who are being fed all those lies and everything, like they're not gonna know how to stay safe. They're not gonna know how to have a healthy level of speculation when it comes to like having a healthy quote unquote healthy interaction with an adult and everything, because adults like when they're in that kind of culture they get smart, and when you're a kid and like if you're aware of that on a proper level of like analyzing the situation, then you can grow and like be able to safeguard from that. But if you're not and you're being fed all these lies by the liberal media and everything, like all of a sudden you can get trafficked, you know. It's not
Yeah.
even about like Muslim people, it like just the main thing, you know. Like it's all types of people, and these kinds of messages that they're preaching, like it doesn't help anybody. Nobody becomes more safe just because oh, we're going by our feelings, like we gotta be good people, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and be inclusive, and it's just like that's not how the world works. Like we have YouTube stars who are getting trafficked like by pedophile rings and stuff. We got this chick who was just on like one of the biggest YouTubers, Shane Dawson's channel. They've been friends for forever, and she went on to finally tell her story, and it's just like her man that she was with all this time, you know, public videos and everything. Like he got in contact with her, he got her pregnant, tried to get her and her son to move all out, all out there, and FBI was just like, yeah, like he was going to traffic you. That's pretty much like the message. And it's just like he wasn't Muslim, he was some white dude. And it's just like regardless of culture, regardless of whatever, we have to go past that and stop trying to make this false narrative to push in everybody's face, and just make people like more and more stupid with how they safeguard themselves from whatever, and it's just like how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that to all the people in your country? How are you going to take that narrative and then go as far as to like if it were in the US, bring that all the way up to federal influence, you know? Like people had enough backlash when they were the ones pushing for Medicare and everything. And even now we're seeing people who are against Medicare who are saying like the fact that it's been government subsidized has led to so much impact on the common people. We've seen top down influence go so far as to increase the opioid epidemic by making more room for not only abuse of prescription drugs, but for people to become more involved in the illegal drug uh, market. And that's another reason why so many people are not even just from Mexico or whatever, but just coming through the southern border by whatever means necessary. That's another way that they've had room to increase the flow of drugs into our country. Like 70% of it comes from the southern border, just because so many things have been fed to us from the top down. And it's just like those countries are going to hell. Like it's no secret, but nobody wants to talk about it.
And
There's
then
so many different factors. There's so many different factors that nobody's thinking about. But I don't know.
before we move on,
much more about that. Can't really say much more. That's pretty much the whole thing, to be honest.
before we really move on, what do you think that the situation with the whole mega kids, and well, I guess not even kids, because some of them being attacked are like
I hope they
in
sue.
mid-20s.
I hope they sue the Washington Post for everything that they have.
No, not those kids. The people this week who got attacked. Like we saw a string of videos of different people being attacked.
I don't even know, man. Like that lady, that chick who attacked that dude in front of those cops. I hope she gets deported. I hope the dude who attacked that dude at UCLA gets put in jail. I hope he has that on his record for the rest of his life. Just like all these people who have been falsely accused and become guilty by accusation. I hope all those people get the same exact treatment, and I hope all those people have as many ramifications as the people who are wrongly accused, because the liberal media has been pushing for this, and they're going to get it, because they're going to get bit in their asses just like they're starting to cannibalize themselves, and it's going to be even worse. And I hope that everything that they have coming to them is times over than what's typically been happening to these people who have been guilty by association. I hope they really get a taste of their own medicine, because honestly, it's been really rough for a lot of people. It's been really rough for a lot of people who just want to be patriots, who, even like me, who haven't even been supporting Donald Trump from the beginning, just want to be supporting their country. And it's ridiculous that we have all this brainwashing going on, and it's the norm. It's really sad. It's sad, and it's infuriating, because even if you're black, even if you're not in a situation where you'd be in a situation where people can have that card of like, oh, you have white privilege, da 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 da, and be they have that capacity to call them racist for no real reason. Like, even if you're not in that situation, again, the left cannibalizes. Like, if you're black, they like even now with professionals who are in office, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez literally called people, black conservatives, people who support Donald Trump and who are working for Donald Trump and everything, called them token black people, called them tokens, trying to define tokenism as if like we don't know what tokenism is. And she's talking about how he's using them as like props and all that bullshit. And it's just like, if you are like the lady at the Women's March, who I was talking to, who wants to call bullshit, you better call bullshit on your people, because that is absolutely ridiculous. Where you would have a professional who has a seat in the government, who has a say, and she's using her influence to say some crap about tokenism. And
Yeah.
it's just a dirty game. It's been a dirty game for a while, and I don't care what anybody says. It's gotten dirtier. It's gotten dirtier in these past 3 years. It's gotten dirtier since 2015 even, and it's all because I just feel it's because we gave damn near 10 years of momentum building to Obama and to the leftist wing, and I think that everybody who's trying to say like, oh, he's our hope, he's gonna change things, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. I don't think any of that has any merit. I really don't, because he has divided the country more and more in those years coming up to us needing so desperately a conservative Republican candidate to step in and get things back on track. Because I don't care where you're coming from morally, I don't care where you're coming from, in your background. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter whatever factor you want to bring up. If you're operating on some childish, empathy train to push your agenda, that's BS. And he did so many things that were unconstitutional, and like everything that we've seen people try to come at Trump for to try and rile people up has been just false narrative. But nobody wants to look past that, and it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's so many crazy things happening these days, and black people want to pretend like it's all Trump or it's all because of him, and it's like
All right.
he's never said anything like that. You know, he's never said anything like what they make out his words to mean and
Well,
stuff. And there's so much like unnecessary hate happening.
well, before I go on, because I had something that I know you're going to want to talk about because it's a really big issue for you. I feel like you need a little bit of room to cool down after that talk. So I'm going to talk about the Mueller investigation in North Korea and how it upstaged potential nuclear fucking war.
Oh my god!
So, first off,
Cool down, he says. You need some time to cool down, he says. Shut
well,
up.
you know what I mean. You need some.
Stupid for that.
You did a lot of thinking there, and well, I'm gonna ask you how your opinion on some shit that happened this week involving our favorite person.
Orange, my bad.
So the Mueller investigation. Basically, we found out that Mueller's been lying to us for 2 years. He openly admitted he had no basis for an investigation on Trump. He just didn't like him.
Oh my god. Keep it.
And people, basically, Mueller admitted that he lied to the U.S. Against Trump and while Trump was running, because Mueller was Trump's lawyer. He also lied on behalf of the Republican Party. And now he's claiming that he has undeniable proof of tax fraud
Ugh.
on Trump's part. Which, okay, let's just recap this shit real quick. So he admits to us that he had no foundation for an investigation against Trump. He had no criminalization or anything to even suggest that Trump may have been conspiring with Russia, which is the accusation being leveled here, right?
It's been leveled. I mean,
It's being leveled, but that's the accusation that he was trying to find proof for.
Which he couldn't.
He couldn't, and he admitted he didn't even have a basis to assume for an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
He also admitted, not only on behalf of the Conservative Party, but he was also lying on behalf of the Democratic Party because he was the lawyer for both parties at different times, and he admitted to lying for both of them.
Oh my god.
And after trying to find shit on Trump for almost, what?
3 years.
3 years, yeah. 3 years.
I remember.
And admitting to lying on us.
From freaking 2016, like we haven't
Admitting,
seen anything.
Well, he's admitted to us that he's lied to us about that. He's also admitted to us that he's been lying to the American people for decades. Decades, I tell you. Well, okay, decades he tells us. And yet he wants us to believe that because he can bring us a check with Trump's name on it, that he has proof that Trump is embezzling money.
Oh my god.
That's the only evidence he has, by the way. The only evidence he's come forward with is a check with Trump's name on it for, I think it was $10 million.
Like you can't fake a check.
I know. Like you can't fake a check, but also, like a check proves fucking anything.
Exactly. Like what?
Like if I showed up,
where it's going? Does it have a name on it? Does it like what? What are you trying to prove? What are you trying? What is that gonna bring?
Like let's forget. Let's just not even give a shit about how I got a check with your name on it. But if I got a check with your name on it, and I took that check to the police station, and I said, "Hey, this check proves that Elcom has been buying cocaine. You should arrest him." They would look at me like I was fucking insane.
That's no backing evidence. They're gonna laugh in your face. It's like, okay, like
I'd be lucky if they just send me out and don't fucking charge me for wasting their resources and time.
Yeah, on top of that, like you're gonna be even luckier if they don't fucking take you in and be like, okay, so how have you been? How did you get this information? Like, what were you doing to snoop? Like, what software do you have to where you were able to fucking figure out where this check was coming from and where it was going, and how did you get it? How did you obtain this? You know, like there's so many loose ends to that, and people are just so focused on
No,
Orange Man bad,
it's so
Orange Man bad, oh, like literally
Orange Man
Trump
bad,
derangement
Orange Man bad,
syndrome.
Orange Man bad. Ah!
Trump derangement syndrome, like I swear to God, is a real thing, and there's
It
just
really is.
it's crazy. It's crazy. Like
Like it used to be a meme when Milo. Sorry, not Milo. You're right. Even though you didn't say anything, you're right. I have to pronounce it correctly. Even when we all thought it was a great joke when Milu Unipolis was talking about how
you're fucking
liberalism is a
stupid.
mental disorder.
You're fucking stupid, man.
I swear I was watching a fucking news report and the news reporter was interviewing him and she fucking dead ass with a straight face introduced her
She
guest,
said Milo
Milu
Yiannopoulos.
Unipolis.
Oh my
Not
fucking
Milo, Milu.
oh,
Milu, you fucking Nipolis.
Milo,
But anyway,
Yiannopoulos. We'd like to have
2016 was a
Milo
wild time to be alive, man.
I miss 2016. I feel like everything's gone down the shitter since then.
Remember when we could still have fun with politics in 2016? Now
Remember
it's
when you could crack a
constant
joke? Remember
depression.
when you could wear hats in public saying what you wanted?
But anyway, when he said liberalism was a mental disorder, we were like, that's a funny joke. No, it fucking really is now. Like,
people are literally getting like undeniably deranged, like having bouts of fucking rage for no reason.
and if you need any further proof, just look at this investigation. 3 years later, Mueller says that he lied about everything and he never had any proof.
Exactly. He's like, but wait,
I have a check.
One more chance. Give me one more chance. I promise.
And the soccer moms of the world are fucking uniting and going, we got the Orange Man this time. Cheeto Puff going to jail.
He's going.
Cheeto Puff going to jail this time.
This is it. We finally have proof. And not to mention, everybody's going to be saying that to themselves. That you know, it's in the common knowledge. Like how it's just this whole time. There's just like, how are we gonna figure out how to take him down? Like we want him gone because we think that he's bad, but we don't really know why. You know, we don't know why he's bad, but he's bad, and we have to get him out.
No, I'll tell you why he's bad. He's bad
because they can't control him. Because nobody can control him.
Because the liberal people like the soccer mom individuals. Actually, I'll go even farther down. He's bad because the kids think he's bad. The kids think he's bad because the teachers tell the kids day in and day out that he's bad. The teachers think he's bad because the soccer moms think he's bad. And the soccer moms think he's bad because their favorite news anchor said he was bad. And their favorite news anchor was paid by the politicians to think he's bad. And the politicians think he's bad because
they can't control him.
They can't control him, and he's not part of the establishment. Yes, I know you just said that, but I really wanted to go down the chain because it's fucking ridiculous. The number of people who are just brain dead, not thinking, just Orange Man bad.
And the craziest thing is,
I don't like him.
The craziest thing is, even Nancy Pelosi, even her, the woman who for the longest time was facing off with him, with that Schumer dude, about all these different issues, even she was up against the most, contentious issue that we had most recently, which was the Green New Deal.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up earlier.
Even her publicly was not for it. And it was just like, all these people suddenly turned on her. They had soccer moms again. This woman came in with this huge group of kids. There were these teens. There were these little kids there. They couldn't even say they're ours. They were just like, Miss Pelosi, you have to vote yes on the Green New Deal. Like, did it? Like, how are you?
No.
That's
and
so
what was great.
Kids as a political prop. And she was just like, it's hard to get into law. I worked hard to get where I am. So maybe if you should get into office.
Like, did you see the whole video though? There was like this 16-year-old like goth girl.
Oh God, I didn't see that.
And like I'm not gonna lie, before I say this, I'm really young.
We're all young at
She was
heart.
kind of cute until she said, "I voted for you," and then I'm like, "Oh fuck, it's retarded."
You know, hey, it's about the spiritual connection. I'm not about to nip somebody's, you know, hopes in the bud
Like
just because
anyone who was
just
listening to
because they
that,
have a mental deformity, you know.
anyone who was listening to that was like, um, you're 16, you didn't vote for her. You
Yeah,
can't vote
there
yet.
was this girl. There was this girl in the crowd before too, where she was just like, "We voted for you. We voted for you to do your job." And she was just like, "How old are you?" She was like, "I'm 16." And she was like, "Well, you didn't vote, so
Yeah.
kind of don't have a voice on that."
And then these kids were like, "Oh yeah, but it doesn't matter who voted for you." After she shut them down on the "I voted for you" category, they then turned to, "Well, it
Every
doesn't
leftist is
matter
gonna
who
jump to
voted for
different.
you."
Every leftist, I swear to God, is just gonna jump. You know, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? And it's just like, can you hold? Can you hold for
One
five
of these
seconds
days, I
and
need to get
realize that you've
Prince
literally
of
been
Queens.
defeated on three different strains of thought that all of which had no basis in reality. Like, are you aware of that? Like, all you're focused on is your objective right now. You seem kind of nuts, if we're gonna be honest, because you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot right now, and
Yeah,
it's you
and
know you don't seem like
one of these chats we do, I have to get my friend Prince of Queens on because he does excellent videos on theories of like liberal cannibalism and how they cannibalize their own ranks.
delicious.
It sounds appetizing, you know. Just
I'm not saying
with
it would
all
be
those
delicious for me. I'm
with
just
all those
saying since
tears,
they
they
do it
gotta
so
be
often,
really
they must
tender.
enjoy the taste. You know.
But anyway, now conveniently enough, the whole Mueller thing showed up. It happened at the same time as the North Korean peace summit. Now, this is what Josh was going to talk about, and I'm not entirely certain how successful that Trump was.
uh,
What I do know is that he managed to get Kim Jong Un to go to Vietnam, to fly
yeah.
into Vietnam, so that they could talk about denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Now,
Yeah.
I understand, because I follow politics a lot, that this has happened before. I understand that Obama had several talks with North Korea, and Obama several times had said, "Oh, yeah, they've agreed to get rid of their nukes. I have brought world peace." Kim Jong un never did.
Yeah.
And I know that
Uh,
other politicians and other activists have gone there too. And I also know that other politicians before Obama and before North Korea really had a threatening nuclear presence, I know that they went to go talk about disarming North Korea. North Korea always said, "Oh, yeah, if you help us, then we will disarm." We gave them stuff and they never disarmed.
yeah. It's just like,
So
are you concerned? Hello.
as far as I'm concerned, this is going to be a failure, whether it seems like it was a win or not.
I think that he's gonna pull through somehow. I do think so. I
I
really.
really don't have.
I'm hoping.
I
I'm
mean,
hoping.
call me
Let me scoot
cynical.
back a little bit. I'm hoping.
Call me cynical, but I don't have a lot of faith that if I don't have a lot of faith that if you keep beating your head against the same brick wall, it'll eventually cave in.
You know.
That brick wall is probably not going to give in before your head gives in.
But listen. Donald Trump is his head's hard, to say the least. Okay.
Very.
Uh.
And then
So I feel like he can, you know, actually make, you know, at least a couple of dents, you know, where Obama like just, you know, he was just all talk, and he was like, oh
well,
well,
I mean,
America, I'm black, you know, like that was kind of his shtick. He should have stuck to that. He should have focused on running his ideas by, you know, people who are actually thinking about all this stuff and figuring out how to handle his own country instead of worrying about stuff the big boys should have been
Yeah.
handling even before him. You know,
And then regardless though,
all
what I think I'm looking forward to, and I might actually do some research and make a video on this. Really, kind of the big thing I'm taking out of the North Korea summit is that it makes Republicans happy, and if you mention it to liberals, they get really angry, and that puts a smile on my face.
You're stupid for that. I hate you sometimes. You're funny.
And it puts a smile on my face because so far every person or every liberal I've talked to who wants to get uppity about the North Korea summit wants to tell me all about how, Trump is doing this in vain and no self-respecting president would do this. And I just smile in the corner because I know that Obama did this several times.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know
and
how
I've
critical they can get, but it just keeps getting better.
I think I've finally learned the lesson of not correcting my opponent when they make a mistake, because it's really funny
to just watch them live in their
to just watch them accidentally admit that Obama wasn't a worthwhile president or wasn't a self-respecting president.
Yeah, it's like
no self-respecting or good president would ever try to negotiate with North Korea and do this, because North Korea is never going to give up their nuclear program, and they're just going to lie to us. And I'm just going to sit here in the corner smiling as you tell me exactly how your Messiah is not a good president. You're talking about Trump.
I see you've been listening to Mr. Jordan Lee.
Yes, I have.
Oh my gosh. He's a good guy.
I mean, really though, when you think about it, the way that liberals talk about Obama, you'd think that he was some kind of fucking Messiah Jesus.
Honestly, everybody's like, he did so much. He did so much for the country.
What did he do? Name one good thing. One good thing besides killing Osama bin Laden.
That's pretty much it. And even then, that was kind of like a trophy kill, to be honest, because he didn't really solve anything. Al Qaeda and ISIS, like, they just transitioned from one name to another, and he used that to try and get in, on the game with drone strikes.
Yeah,
which didn't do any good because
he used them against his own people.
For whatever reason.
Now, speaking of war in the Middle East, here comes the real kicker. Because the Robert Mueller investigation upstaged Trump's nuclear summit. But the nuclear summit upstaged in the news what I think should have been the headline. And that is that India and Pakistan finally look like they're going to come to military blows. Now,
I'm scared. I'm not, but
India and Pakistan, they're both like second world nations, so it's not like America and Russia going to nuclear war with each other.
Yeah.
But what we still have is two second world powers, both of which are nuclear powers. India,
and they're fucking in the middle of their industrial revolutions. So.
Yeah, and they're in the middle of their industrial revolutions. So you have India, which has nuclear weapons stockpiled up, and you have Pakistan, which has nuclear weapons stockpiled up. Now, both of these nations are a result of the decolonization efforts that were made after World War II.
Yeah.
And both of these nations hate each other.
My thing is, okay, are they right next to each other?
They're right next to each other.
Oh, so at least things aren't going to get caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, but like
at the very least.
But like the main idea is kind of like with Jerusalem and the Palestinians. India, well, not even like that, because the Jerusalem and the Jews don't really care as long as they have land to live on and they're not being murdered.
Yeah.
India thinks that Pakistan should be theirs, and is rightfully theirs, and Pakistan thinks that India should be rightfully theirs and belong to them, and they want to basically eliminate any threat and just claim that land. So you
Like,
have
what
two.
threat even would that be? Like, I'm curious. You know, like what do each of
Well,
them
basically,
think
it,
that?
it it's been a long disputed territory between their borders,
Uh,
and what's finally happening, which every person who stays up to date with global politics has understood for decades that a war between Pakistan and India is inevitable.
yeah, I feel like even we even talked about that like in uh, you know in our classes.
Probably. Because essentially they're two populations that despise each other's existence.
And they're right
And
next
they're
to
right next to each other. And so I forget which city it was, but there's military troops on both sides lining up on the borders,
Jesus.
ready for the invasion call.
Did it? And it didn't come, right?
It hasn't come yet.
But they are they still? Do they still have people like manned out there or what?
Yeah, there's still soldiers out there.
Like every day they have them out there.
Are do you know what massing troops for an invasion looks like?
Not really. I'm a typical ignorant American.
Oh, that's right. We're Americans. We've never seen a war.
I'm
And even
slowly
then, people
laughing.
like me have only seen simulated ones. Because generally, what happens is if you're preparing for an invasion, you get your military nearby the border of where you're trying to invade, and that's where Pakistan and India are in the process of doing. Now, it is unclear whether or not they will come to nuclear blows, but I wouldn't put it above them, especially since Pakistan has had a history of funding certain terrorist organizations.
I wonder why.
And while it's not, I understand. I mean, we're gonna get the not all. Yeah, but
I
the
feel like every
leadership of
time somebody
Pakistan.
says something like that, they need to preface it. They need to preface it with, again, just letting you know, in case you haven't paid attention to my 6 other times saying this, not all people fit into a specific type of person that I'm talking about right now. Okay?
But I'm like, yeah, it's not all Pakistanis hate Indians. Not all Indians hate Pakistanis. But at least on the Pakistani side, we have the long-standing pattern of the high-ranking leadership funding terrorist organizations and being generally aggressive.
Yeah, like, you know.
And so that's kind of what is happening in global politics that's kind of concerning. Although not I don't know. Alchem and I discussed this before the podcast, but with the amount of toxins that India is putting out into the atmosphere and the ocean, given the fact that they're going through their industrial revolution, I'm almost curious if nuking them would result in a net loss of toxins being pumped out into the environment.
Listen. For me, I always just try to see the good or potential good in any situation because that's just how I function. And when he brought that up, I had to sit back for a second. I had to think, okay, a lot of the carbon footprint that humanity is making on the atmosphere and on the world in general, just like with the marine uh, section of the world and the air, both of those are like the majority of what the planet is compromised. And I'm just sitting there like, well, maybe once if they get it out their system, I'm not saying that it's gonna happen. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, if they got into some nuclear warfare, like, would it be all that bad for the environment? I'm just saying. Because listen, vegans and everybody, AOC, they want to do all these drastic measures, you know, to get in everybody's daily life and affect how they do their thing every day. Like, they want to take away the cows because all the methane and stuff. They want to make all these railways because airlines and stuff. And it's just like most of like a lot of it, still comes from people, because like there's a lot of people who live in America, who live in the world in general, but specifically talking about America, a lot of the carbon footprint that we leave is from our corporations and stuff, and a lot of that is just the aftermath of the initial industrial revolution that we went through. Now we're moving on to more eco-friendly stuff. People are figuring out how to be more self-sustaining, and most of it is coming from industries like factories and stuff who don't operate on clean energy. And it's like in India, they're you know gashing a hole in their ozone layer. Like their streets and everything are hot enough to melt sandals. People can't even wear shoes. Like, it's so hot, and it's just like, if they got it out of their system and they had their backs pressed against the wall, and the fact that they and China are one of the worst contributors to toxicity of the world, maybe it could have a positive growth after. I'm just saying because if we're gonna be real, a lot of that stuff, is probably gonna be targeted at the other person's, like, or not person, but like the country's, where's their oil supply, where's their power plants, how are we gonna hit them hard enough? Because like they hate each other, like
Yeah.
they hate each other's guts. Like, it's not about like having beef with just the government or whatever. Like, they're gonna want to make the other country hurt because they've been in their territory, and that's both of them. And again, not everybody, if it came to that, a lot of people would probably bounce and be like, you know what, I'm not part of this. Like, I'm not about to be sitting here praying to my Buddha, asking him
You know,
to fucking keep us safe because we deserve to be in this land. Like, a lot of people are just gonna be like, you know what, I'm a logical fucking person, and I'm not the one to be caught in the crossfire of some bullshit ass war. That's not me. So you know what? When those people ended up, coming back in this hypothetical situation, maybe it'll be like, our nuclear's fucked. We don't have anything, that we're doing right now with energy. Our oil is destroyed. Everything is leaking everywhere. We don't have shit. So maybe we'll move on to some fucking solar energy and make some big buildings that can shield us from the heat, and make some shit like aerodynamically good. We could have like some wind turbines, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
In the
maybe.
buildings. Like,
And
I'm
then,
just saying, maybe it could be a positive impact in the end. Maybe
all
people
right,
can
I'm
grow.
I'm gonna take the shovel out of your hand.
That's
You've
just me.
already dug deep enough. I'm gonna take the shovel out of your hand.
I'm
I'm
about
gonna
I'm
take you
about
over to a new spot.
I'm about 18 feet under at this point. Shit.
I have a ladder. It's okay.
The
I'm
media's
gonna
gonna
take you to a
fucking
new
leave me
spot
alive.
and hand you a shiny new shovel
Ooh.
because I know this is a big topic for you. Are you ready?
Well, yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
So, you know what Alex Jones was talking about when he went on to the shoot the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Joe. Everybody's been pissed at Joe for letting him have a platform and all that. But I haven't
that's not what I want to talk
I
about.
haven't watched the whole thing though, so you're gonna have to like run some stuff by me if it's like a specific topic, because
Okay.
I've been having to take it in chunks. Okay,
Okay.
it's 5 hours of footage, and
Yeah, no, I understand.
I can't listen to him scream every 5 minutes for more than 20 minutes at a time.
You're
I'm sorry.
turning the freaking frogs gay. I'm sorry. I had.
Listen, dipshit, you need to fucking get your hat out of your motherfucking ass, you goddamn asshole.
Anyway.
You gotta, that's I love how he goes on those types of words. Shit makes me laugh. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. basically Congress passed a law. So there was a law passed that was saying that if a abortion fails and a child comes out of the womb
Alive.
alive, then the doctor's there.
Can discuss with the mother and decide whether the
Well,
baby should be aborted post term.
well, no, they were going to release a law saying
Oh
that
fuck.
the doctor had to keep the child alive.
Oh, I love that. Never mind. My faith is restored in Congress. Okay.
It got voted down.
By fucking who? Was it AOC?
She was one of the people who voted against that bill, yes.
Fuck my ass. Like, oh my
And I
god.
know that abortion is a huge topic for you. So, now that is that enough information for you?
You can keep going. You can keep going.
I mean, I'm just trying to give you enough information to the point where I can just set you loose. Because I know that this is going to be a good rant to hear.
I'm like the Alex Jones of our duo, or our trio. Should I say.
That's funny because
You
Josh is
give
the
me a
one I keep
topic,
telling
you
to
give me
take
some
the.
space. You put
Josh
me
is
on
the
a
one who I keep
relatively.
telling needs to take the tinfoil hat off.
Funny enough, I'm eating out of tinfoil right now.
Just put that shit on your head and start talking.
No, but keep going. Give me some more information. I want to know what else is going on. Why did you bring up Alex?
Oh, because well, he was screaming about it, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, look, it's Alex Jones just being paranoid again." Alex, nothing happening here. Everything Alex Jones said is fake. Now, as a matter of fact, I know that everything he said is real. Because I've been paying attention to modern politics. I've been paying attention to what Congress has been doing, and Congress voted against a bill saying that a doctor has to keep a failed abortion alive.
How close was it?
I think it was close. If I remember, it was like a 4-vote difference in the
Oh
Senate.
wow!
Yeah.
How many are in? How many seats were representing votes right there?
Do you not know how many seats are in the Senate?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay, I could forgive you for not knowing how many seats are in the House. The Senate has 2 senators per state, and there are 50 states.
Oh, so 100.
Yeah. So
Well,
how much?
you could have just said that.
Yes, but I wanted you to figure it out yourself.
No, you
So
could have just said there was 2, and I would have been like, oh. Instead of
there's
being
2
like,
for
I
every
can
state.
forgive you. I can forgive you for not knowing the number. Like, bitch.
Look, I'm a fucking dick. Live with it.
It's Aries season. Okay, anyway, continue.
But yeah, no, I just find it fascinating because so many, like, not to bring it up again, but soccer moms are in denial that this is what is happening around the discussion with abortion.
You get that goal, Timmy. Sorry.
Because, like, holy shit, at this point, we're no longer saying whether or not we think abortion is moral, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about kids who are
Already been
independent,
born.
who are independent of the mother.
But the thing is, like, we've been at this stage for a while now. Like Obama himself, like while he was representing his state, fucking did the same thing. He literally voted no on the Born Alive Act when it first came out, before he was president. Like, it's no secret that the left doesn't give a fuck about kids.
That's interesting. I didn't know that one actually.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
No, it's happened before.
Damn.
While he had influence, even before he was president, he voted no.
Shit, more fucked up than I thought.
Yeah, but nah, it's been happening. That's like, I could have gotten mad right now, but like that surprise, like that wasn't an element. It hasn't been for a while, just because it's it's just the same topic circulating over and over again. Like it's just recycled bullshit.
Yeah, no, and I'm getting. I mean, obviously, politics has always just been recycled bullshit.
Yeah.
That's all politics always has been. It's all politics always will be. Unfortunately, which is partially why, as a libertarian, I would almost like to see a system take hold where there are no politicians, but that requires a system without government. And for some reason, people have problems with that kind of thought process.
Yeah, like I'm listen, personally, if by the end of my life we can disband like the government to a certain extent and like give all the power to the states and like have all these like evil shit, like just delegated to specific states,
Well, it's not even that. Like, ideally, if I could see a perfect society, I would envision that there would be no government, everything would be private enterprise.
Yeah.
Now, realistically, I understand that the best I can probably hope for is localization of government, which is to
Yeah.
say the system that we originally operated on. Originally, the federal government had a very small army, and in
Yeah.
order to go to war, they had to get permission from the states because they had to ask the states to borrow their armies. And I think that in itself would solve a lot of problems. Like, imagine the Iraq War if that's how our military worked. The federal government
It
could have
wouldn't
gone
have
into
happened.
Iraq, but then, you know, maybe all of the 50 of the state, let's say for simplicity's sake, all 50 of the states decide to join. So all the soldiers who start in Iraq in our timeline
Uh-huh.
start in Iraq in that timeline. Well, in that case, as soon as like California stops supporting the war, California is a big population pool for the military.
Oh yeah. Dude, we live in a naval city. Like
Yeah, we live in a city with a Navy base, an Air Force base, and a Marine base, in addition to several Navy hospitals.
yeah,
Like, we're in a giant military hub living where we live. Now,
definitely.
imagine if the states could say, we don't support this war anymore, we're pulling out. That would force the federal government to make their wars either quick or only have wars that have actual moral causes behind them.
Not even that. Like we would just not be dealing with shit if it wasn't pertinent to, the survival of the United States or
Yeah,
continuing to foster good connections with other countries. Like
as where now the
it would be
US kind of
standard.
has this attitude where if we see a problem,
Oh, we gotta go fix it. We
we
gotta go
gotta go
fix it.
fix it. We
It's
gotta
not
send in
our
the
job.
military. We gotta have boots on the ground. No, we don't.
That's not our job. Like you're just killing our people for no fucking reason. Like, do you understand what that shit does to families? Like, they're not just drones you can send out, nigga. Like, oh, sorry. I get passionate about military because, like,
He's black.
I
He can
really,
do that.
yeah, I have the N word pass. It's all right. It's all good in the hood, but it just pisses me off because like so many people are lost to feudal military efforts. It's like even if they don't get coverage, like it shit's still happening, and it's sad
It really is.
because like the families, like the specific families who have like their kids, coming home in boxes and shit, like and are told, he died in the war, and the number the smaller number of families, even if they all are smaller, like there's still every single increment of that, is a family who either knows that their kid was in a war that they didn't need to be in, they got drafted or they signed up because, they wanted to pursue like higher education or whatever, or they just straight up didn't want them in the military at all. And those people are gonna have to live with that shit for the rest of their lives and have that void of like my kid got killed
For nothing.
because fucking somebody decided that they wanted to get all uppity and moralistic and fucking send them off to be killed. It's like no fucking Purple Heart, is worth that shit if you know that you have no business being there and that like what you're fighting for ain't shit in that situation. Because like it doesn't even have to be like about the U.S. military or whatever. Like there's militaries all over the world that like some person in some big chair just decides like they want to sign them up for having their duty as whatever, and they know in that small case they know that like it wasn't necessary and that they fucked up. It's just sad.
All right. Now, to make things a little happier, we have the final topic, which is something that Alchem chose. And why don't you introduce this for us then?
All right. I will as soon as I know what you're talking about.
The woman that Trump pardoned?
Oh yeah, that's my thing. Okay.
Yeah, this is your thing.
Okay, so oh snap, my phone about to die. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, we still good. We on, y'all. Don't worry. All right, let me find this tweet real quick so I don't fucking misspeak. Because, of course, I had to retweet it. But I was at this women's march. Lady was talking about how Trump's racist and shit, and I was just like, what? And literally, I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm just like, how is he racist? Like, all this stuff that he's doing, all this stuff with breaking records, economically, all that. And there's still BS about him being racist. And I'm just like, this woman got pardoned by him who was taken into custody by law enforcement at 16 wrongly. And he pardoned her after, I can't remember how long. I'm trying to find it. But I was just like, how? Because, like, no president who's racist, like, nobody who's racist is going to specifically go for a case where a young black woman, okay, supposedly, like, the most oppressed, demographic of people in America.
Big quotation marks around the word supposedly.
What do you mean?
Like when you're saying something sarcastically and you put quotation marks around what you're saying.
You wouldn't put it around supposedly. You would put it
True,
around.
you would put it around oppressed.
I was like, what? But
the oppressed.
These supposedly oppressed people, these young black women who I was literally there the day before, supporting. Just because, like, listen, I like black people. Like, I'm black, okay? Like, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite.
No, I thought you hated yourself.
I mean, I hate myself, but that's that's not representative of black people in general. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I completely get that.
But the hell, I can't find. Oh,
you nope, I still can't find it, gentlemen.
What the hell? Wait, it was on this. Oh, it was on this chick's page. The right Melissa. Black woman, Catherine Toney, is the first person to be released from prison after 16 years for a minor drug offense under President Trump's First Step Act prison reform bill. It's got zero media coverage, like none.
16 years. That means she was in prison for a wrongful drug conviction when Obama was in office.
Yes.
Damn.
I'm like, what?
Now that's cold.
Like, she must have been young when she got, convicted, and it was a minor thing. Like, it was completely blown out of proportion. It was a completely wrongful sentence.
I mean, obviously it was blown out of proportion because it's a drug charge. I mean, okay, I guess this entire thing is us blasting our politics, but I don't mean to blast my politics, but like, It's a fucking drug charge. I'm sorry, but like, if a crime fits the definition of something that deprives another individual of their right to life, liberty, or property, can you point to who is deprived of those rights by me deciding to smoke a fucking joint?
Exactly, like it, dude. The one of the most minor things you could do in life is smoke a joint, because like in general, like you are less risky to society doing that than driving a car. Like you could literally be going to work, being a supposedly productive member of society, driving your car and get into an accident to harm and or kill people. Like in that situation, like whether it was an accident or not. And the most accidental like bad thing you could do smoking a joint is like smoking too much and needing to take a nap or like tripping out or some shit.
Yeah.
Like you can't hurt nobody smoking weed. Like it doesn't happen.
I
Like
mean,
if you're
I
in
mean,
a
if
bad
you're,
situation and you're like out with people or whatever, and you're off your rocker and you're smoking weed, like obviously the
yeah,
fact that
I
like
mean,
the
there's a
psychedelic
reason
properties
that
of weed has
drinking and
increased over
driving is
these
a
years.
crime.
Yeah, hello.
But like, honestly, it's so dumb that drug charges exist. Cause I mean, you wouldn't. I mean, even if, okay, I shouldn't say this because I feel like even if I
No,
feel like they would,
say it, because after
but
you
I'm
say it,
gonna
we
say
can
it.
talk about
No,
what you have
I'm
in
gonna
your
saying
head.
I shouldn't say it because it's probably false. But like, I'm gonna say it anyway because like maybe if vegans took control, they might not make it completely illegal to eat animal meat. I mean, let's just consider that for a second. How ridiculous would it be? Because basically, what regulations of drugs are, it's a regulation of morality, right?
Yeah,
It's some guy, and this is why I say that like Republicans and Democrats are the same because they both want to use the government to enforce their morality on other people.
yeah.
And
It just
what
depends on
drug
where your
laws are
morality is
is
coming from.
some uppity person saying, "I don't like the fact that young people are smoking drugs." Like if vegans took over and made it illegal to eat meat, we'd all be up in fucking arms. That would we would all. I mean,
We
if
would
you
literally
talk
be
to
butt
any
to cap. Like
reasonable
it's not. You
person,
don't play with my meat.
like if you talk to any reasonable person, they will tell you that that would be a ridiculous sentiment. Obviously, no one would stand for a bunch of vegans making it illegal to eat meat. That would be stupid. And
It'd be
yet,
stupid, and
we're
it'd
okay
be
with a bunch of
infringing on
people
my rights.
regulating morality on things like heroin and weed. Like,
Listen, I get heroin because it's like a deadly substance, but like, bro, arresting people
okay,
for weed? Are you
okay,
fucking serious?
but like, if I drink too much alcohol, I will fucking die.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I can see why the heroin thing could get you know
Okay, but
put
if you
into
can,
that category because it's a legit crisis. Like you can't you can't even uh be born alcoholic. You can't be born addicted to weed, but you
okay,
can be born
okay,
with an opioid like like not deficiency, but what the fuck is it called?
addiction.
Dependency. You can literally be born with that dependency and need opioids to fucking survive.
Okay, but here's the thing: is the same thing is true of fat and cholesterol, right?
No.
Yeah, no, really. Science shows that people who are the children of a mother who eat lots of fat and cholesterol, like excessive amounts, will tend to go on to then desire more fat and cholesterol. And obesity is a crisis in the US.
Yeah, but that's you do that to yourself. You're the one who's lazy and fat
But
and
it's the same
doesn't want to
thing.
handle your
No,
habits
no,
and shit.
no, it's the same thing. Because
I'm not
if
saying you shouldn't
because
like
if I'm
have.
a mother, ridiculous sentiment being the straight white cisgendered male Jew that I am, but let's
Hey,
say
you could
I'm a
become
mother,
you could become a lesbian,
I
black,
could become a
transgender woman. hermaphrodite. You know,
But
you can
like,
do that if you wanted to and have a
if
fucking
I'm
somatic
pregnant,
transplanted into you if you
like
really wanted to.
this is
Just saying.
true. But like,
But
science
go
has
on.
proven that if I'm pregnant and I eat excessive amounts of fatty foods, excessive amounts of like burgers and French fries, then that builds up a dependency in the fetus. And so
Well,
then when that child is
that's not as
born,
much of a life threatening dependency as it is for heroin, because like if you like withdrawals and stuff, those kinds of symptoms on children, especially newborn infants, can be deadly. But with fat and cholesterol and stuff, it's more of like your body having to learn how to adjust back to a typical human diet.
but you're still talking about something that kills people that you can objectively be born with. And
Yeah.
I think once you get into the territory of wanting to regulate something like heroin, that's an individual choice that, yes, can be passed down to any kids you have, you then begin to get into the morality of, well, if regulating heroin is okay, because you might pass dependency to heroin on to your kids, well, we know that cholesterol and fat and a desire to eat excessive amounts of it can be passed down
Okay, my
to a
thing
child.
my thing with
It
that
what
though, I understand where you're coming
it's a
from, and I
slippery
understand that
slope
you're
kind of
playing devil's advocate
paradox.
for this, and I understand like the angle that you're coming from with the specific game of devil's advocate. But my thing is, listen, I actually view like encouraging your child to be obese as a child. Like if you are encouraging childhood obesity, I really do think that is child abuse, and I would like if I were able to vote on it, if it was like going to be legislation or something, I really do think that like nipping your kids wings at the base, like that kind of thing, and like forcing them to be dependent and like not encouraging that kind of thing by not letting them have an outside source of like proper food. Like if you're feeding them shit every day, like I really do view that as child abuse. Like I would definitely say that. Like if you're overfeeding your kid and you're not allowing them to have like a healthy everyday diet and stuff, like I really do think that is because kids need like proper food. They can't
Yeah,
just be out of the womb. You ate burgers and fries every fucking day, 4 times a day, 5 times a day, having a 300 pound, not 300 pound, that's pushing it, fucking 500 pound mother who isn't actually disabled, but she fucked up her knees and she fucked up her hips and everything because she kept that weight on her. Like, sorry, mom, love you, but you're in the boat. You're walking it every day. Like, my mother is literally, she's recovered from being morbidly obese, and it's just like it's not okay to have to be doing that to your kid. Like, you can't do that. Like, she changed everything about her diet and her lifestyle and everything because she had a kid and she knew that she was gonna have to put a halt, on her fucking, what she wanted to do with her body, kind of bullshit. It's like if you are a woman who has a child and you're addicted to heroin, and your kid finds you out cold, and they're 8 and they don't have, the access to the money, and obviously they're not going to be able to fucking pay their bills. The heat's off, the lights off, the water's off, and you're passed out every day with a fucking heroin needle sticking out of your arm. That should be illegal because that's child neglect.
and that already is illegal because it's child neglect.
Exactly. That's what
But
I'm
it's
saying.
not. The thing is that we do not blame the substance for the action. We blame the person who perpetrated the action,
Using
right?
the substance.
Well, yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
but with child abuse due to alcohol, we don't blame the alcohol and say we should make it illegal.
We blame the person
We say
who
that
chose to be
they're
alcoholic.
nobody. Okay, I shouldn't say nobody, but almost nobody is going to actively advocate, oh, this person drinks alcohol and they're neglectful of their children. It's the alcohol's fault. And I think that's really infantilizing to people to say shit like that.
Yeah, because if you do that, then
Say,
you
oh, this
take the
person's a shitty
responsibility.
parent because heroin made them do it. That's fucking ridiculous and so infantilizing. Like,
Yeah, I'm saying I don't think the current laws are about the drug itself. I think it's the fact that like the the chain of command basically that the heroin and stuff goes through is illegal 70% of the time. Like 70% of supply of illegal drugs like heroin and fentanyl, street drugs that people are bringing across the southern border. 70% of it is coming from the southern border and
Well,
getting
yes,
to the
but
states where these issues are the problem.
as we've seen with marijuana in California, if you make something legal, what will inevitably happen is people will begin making it with legitimate businesses,
Yeah,
which then takes away from the crime syndicates. Because, quite frankly, if I can buy my weed from a licensed pot dealer who isn't shady or from some criminal, I'm going to choose the fucking license guy unless they're taxing the license guy to the point where his prices are obscene. I'm going to choose him because I don't want to fund stuff like that.
yeah. For me, listen, I'm not
But
gonna name any names, and I'm not gonna say that I do anything. I'm just saying that if I was in that position, I would regularly stick with a main dude who I knew and I could trust and I fuck with on a level, you know what I'm saying? And like support them directly and like let them have their business or whatever. I wouldn't go to some fucking illegal immigrant who's trying to do the shit shadily, you know, and part of some drug ring, you know, some chain of command that's directly linked to some fucking El Chapo type character. I wouldn't be doing that either. Like
El Guapo?
it's huh?
El Guapo?
You're fucking stupid.
I'm very stupid. Anyway, but yeah,
that's my take. You know, like
yeah, and that
I don't want to like if I can purchase from a farmer's market and directly support somebody or buy from Walmart, I would choose farmer's market if the prices were comparable or at least like made sense in my head and they were like reasonable prices for the
yeah,
labor and stuff. I would much rather use my money to stimulate, you know, directly stimulate some other person that I, you know, like their energy and I like what they were doing and I like, you know, the outward message that they were projecting with what they were doing. If they just had a good energy of like, you know, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Like I try to make good products for you. You pay me what you think is reasonable, and we have a mutual exchange of goods. You know, you alienate your labor toward me, and I alienate mine to you. Like that's the essence of capitalism. That's what I love. And it's like,
and on
you know,
that
I would
philosophical
rather
note,
not do it any other way.
I think that about sums up our take on the week. Is that about
Shit was
right?
crazy.
I mean, it
Shit was
was
crazy.
crazy. I'm looking forward to next week. I don't know
Oh,
about you. I'm kind of sad that Josh missed this episode.
I am
Um,
too. He would have had a lot to say.
apparently he
I
was
had to rant
fishing
a
with his
lot.
grandpa.
Huh?
Gotta love him. Josh is a great guy.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that is the fireplace.
This was the fireplace. Josh, we miss you. Sending our love. You know, good vibes.
We'll
Everybody who
see you
listened.
on the flip side.
Oh wow, that was very white.
Well, I'm fucking white.
I know. That's you know that's why I'm comfortable saying it.